Did a good run, but well done.
Yeah, some very enthusiastic owners behind me. He just asked me when the 1,000 guineas was.
She's perfect. She's going to win the French 1,000 guineas. Done.
It was all very encouraging for debut.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did we get She's Perfect? There's a funny story actually. I'm a massive believer in fate, and we went to a horse in training sales at Tattersalls in Newmarket only 2 weeks before, I think, with a budget of 30 grand, and again went with Charlie and Will Douglas, and we made a list of about 5 horses or 3 horses we thought we would definitely get for that amount of money. And all of them went for way too much. I remember being gutted because I didn't even get to bid. I'd never bidded before, and I just wanted to put a bid in, and we didn't get to that point. And then Charlie called me and said, look, the French breeze up sales are up next, like that could suit you perfectly, you know, like an unraced 2-year-old, but because they're a breeze up horse, they should be quite forward and wouldn't be far off the track, but they cost a little bit more money. So I said, okay, well, let's see if we can find something for 30,000. And again, Will and Charlie went out, watched them breeze, and made a list of horses for me, which we thought we could get for around 30, maybe 40. Again, all of them were just going for so much money. And Charlie called me and just said, this is the weirdest sale he's ever seen. Let's leave it. I said, fine. I was watching it up in Liverpool, started driving back to Warwick, and he called me and he said, Bash, I cannot believe it. There's this beautiful Sioux Nation filly who hasn't sold in the ring, and we've been offered her for 50,000 euros. And he's like, I cannot explain how perfect this horse looks. And he was saying, you know, she was on one of his lists for another client, but they thought she was going to go for well over 6 figures. And just something my gut said, just go for it, Bash, just go for it. This just seems too good to be true, like dive in head first. So I said, buy her, Charlie. He called me back and said, I just snapped her up, and just after I got her, a few other trainers were going to come and try and get her. And as I said, she was over in France, the Arcana Breeze Ups. We brought her back, and how the name came about is I was standing in the box with her with Charlie, and Charlie said, oh, she's a lot bigger than what I remember, you know, look how strong she is here, you know, look how she's put together. And he looked at me and said, she's perfect. And I looked back and said, she's perfect. And I smiled, and instantly I was like, that's her name. Cool, like that is her name. In that one moment, and I had a look on the BHA name finder. She's Perfect was available. No apostrophe, but it doesn't matter. That was it. She was named, and obviously the journey starts where you're trying to sell shares in people. And it's funny, when I look back at the videos now, I'm saying, you know, she's working really well at home. And as I said, I could tell by how Charlie was reacting that, you know, she was above average and she was working really nicely. And she's only the 2nd horse I ever bought. It just seems like we just struck gold with her. And the places she's taken us already is just amazing. The fact that hopefully on Sunday we line up in a classic, the French 1,000 guineas in Group 1 for a horse which we paid 50,000 euros for, with majority of the syndicate their first ever experience in owning a racehorse, and only my 2nd ever horse that I bought. I think she's, you know, I only have 4 horses which have ran. It's very special, and just to be there is amazing. Holy moly, if she was to go and win, we'd take the roof off the place.
We've got French 1,000 and 2,000 guineas this weekend, and as rarely happens in racing, a long-term plan has pulled off with both horses. These races were highlighted a long time ago as potential targets, and we are now 5 days out from the race, and it looks like, barring any horrendous mishaps, it looks like we're going to line up on Sunday. She's Perfect runs in the 1,000 guineas. She was bought from the Breeze Ups last year by Will Douglas and myself over in Arcana. She's a beautiful Sioux Nation filly out of a Galileo mare, Scopy. She is perfect, hence the name. And she made a winning debut, and then she ran once more on bottomless ground at Goodwood, where we dropped her in from a wide draw after she'd been a bit gassy first time out. She, I think, was pretty much the only horse all day to make up ground from off the pace, and she did very well to finish 3rd. We put her away and hatched a plan to target France because she'd handled the softer ground, and we chose the Prix de la Grotte as her seasonal reappearance starting point, where she went and ran a screamer, finishing a next second to a filly the French hold in seriously high regard in Zaragana. And that kind of booked her place to line up on Sunday, where she'll retake on the filly that beat her and plenty of others with a huge amount of potential. So it's not going to be an easy race by any stretch of the imagination. What she has in her favour is A, she's run extremely well around the track, and B, she is as tough as they come. They will have to, they will have a battle on their hands. We rode her positively last time in France. I think we'll plan to do the same thing again. I'd rather not lead if we can help it, but if nothing wants to go on and we end up in front of her and able to dictate, it worked fine last time, so why change it? And she looks a picture. We've had a completely clear run since her race. She's fit, she's tightened up for that run, and she looks great.
As I've touched on it a little bit, but she won on debut at Haydock Park on the 9th of August. As I said, it was my first ever runner in my silks, and just seeing my silks was a very, very surreal moment to me, and I cannot explain the nerves I felt on that day. We were driving up to Haydock in Liverpool, and the whole way I just felt sick with nerves. Does she come out the stalls okay? Will she settle? The thing that people forget is these horses are my life, and leading up to it every night, I'm picturing in my head how I think the race is going to go, and you're building up this hope in your mind, and it's that worry of maybe she's not as good as what you hope. That's what keeps me up at night. So it was just an outpour of emotion when she went and won. We went absolutely mental, and it was honestly one of the best days of my life, if not the best day. That's where the connection with King Shui, Kieran Schumacher started. That day was just very, very special. And then we went to Goodwood, my first ever time at Goodwood actually, for £100,000. I think it was an EBF final, and Shui was ill, so we drafted Ryan Moore, one of the best in the world. So that was very surreal to see him in my silks. And it was heavy ground. She was drawn wide, and we dropped her in, and she was dead last. And I'm thinking, oh no, that dread again. Haydock's just a fluke, and he sort of just asked her to get going, and she was one of the only horses that day to make up the ground in those horrible conditions, and she flew home to finish third. I think another furlong or two she would have got second, and again that was fantastic. And then we put her away. She went to the National Stud for a couple months. Charlie, the thing that I like about Charlie is a very, very patient trainer. Let's make sure we've got a proper horse for next year. It's not all about now. So then you go away for those cold winter months, and I'm just picturing her comeback run, and please God, she's trained on and she's healthy. And then to go over to Longchamp was just fantastic. To go over to Paris, I'd been to Longchamp for the Arc de Triomphe first time as a fan in the October before, and to go back there in my first ever group run, and to take on a horse like Zaragana, who they think is an absolute wonder horse. That was very, very special. There was 22 of us out there. It was nerve-wracking, but it was a beautiful day. We're like, let's just enjoy it. And we're very conscious of the fact she could easily have been well beaten down the field. And then we'd think, okay, we've got a nice handicapper on our hands. There's a chance she could run very well. And then we know we've got a group horse. And she was beaten neck where things didn't really go to plan. And yeah, as soon as that happened, you're thinking, oh, the dream is very, very much alive. And Sunday, the 11th of May, the French 1,000 Guineas, she could do something very special and make history.